in just few hours.
You in school or you're at home?
Sorry.
Are you in college? Are
Yeah,
you
I'm in
college
college.
right now? Like in the
Yeah.
Oh, so no dinner. You don't have dinner.
No, it's
Yeah,
like,
have dinner with family.
yeah, no dinner from the family. It's like mess.
Yeah, it's always messy. Probably just have some junk food.
Not junk food exactly, but yeah, I was registered to the institute mess, and from there I get my daily meals.
Nice. So let's see if other people can join. I'm pretty sure Jonas is gonna join us today. Because he has some topic. Speaking of Jonas, is there?
Okay, perfectly. Let's wait for him.
Hello.
Hey, man.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello,
Am I
doing?
audible?
No.
I'm not audible. What's going on? Somebody help! Can you hear me? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you folks?
Yeah, doing good. I was just talking about you. I was like, let's wait for Jonas to join, and boom, Jonas is here.
Summoned.
you were eavesdropping.
No, I wish. Just good timing, I guess.
Yeah, perfect timing. So I don't think we have to wait for anybody. We have to like start the meeting. So, hey folks, welcome to today's community meeting. We all know the community meetings happens bi-weekly, one in the morning and one later in the evening, which is currently happening now. Okay, we have someone joining, Jonathan. Hey,
Hi, everyone.
hi,
Hello.
hello. How
How's
you
it going?
doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good too. Thanks for joining today's call. First time joining?
Yeah, first time. First time.
Cool. Cool. Looking forward to seeing you in more meetings.
See how we go. Hopefully.
Okay, we have Pedro. Hey, Pedro. Hello.
Hey, do you hear me?
Hey, man. Yeah, and I can hear you. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, me too. Nice to see you. I can see you all are looking amazing, looking fresh. See
Oh.
Jonas.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the call. So I hope we have a fun conversation today. So without no further ado, I'm gonna get right into it. So Jonas have some things he also wants to discuss into this community meeting. I also have some few things I also want to discuss and probably share. So yeah, so the first thing I'm gonna talk about in this community meeting is actually the ACKPI previous which is currently still ongoing, which is the ACKPI 2022 mentorship program. Which has been a fun ride so far. I get to like organize this mentorship program, which I'm also like honored. Am I breaking?
A little bit.
A
Yeah.
little bit. Okay, cool. Oh, sorry. I hope my internet doesn't fuck me up today. So the mentorship program for 2022 is still ongoing, which was supposed to have ended, but due to some reasons, we still have some folks that are still working on the projects. But we have a few folks that have completed their projects, which includes Akshat, he's on the call, and also Abil, who is not on the call. Really amazing folks. So I would love to like make give the mic to Akshat to just give us a brief overview of how the program went. So Akshat, do you mind?
Yeah, perfectly. So, like a Syncipay mentorship program, I always say that it has something new for you. Means like you do want you, but whenever project idea you choose, you always get to learn anything out from it. And I always compare that. Means not, I should say it's a comparison. It is a like a GSOC. Everyone has a hype about Google's Summer of Code, but many of them do not get selected for that. But yeah, this program is really awesome with that. My mentor was Lucas, and along with that I have Machi, who was guiding me in the entire process. It was a really a fun and interactive sessions with them too. I never felt that there was a like burden type of internship going on like that. It's open source, cool. It's a learning process, and everyone has its own particular time to do the contributions with it. And along with that, the ace, like he's the coordinator of the program, always he's very cheerful to take feedbacks from us. We do have many of the coffee talks in the evening, in the meetings that happens twice the month. That was bi-weekly, so like it's a very fun program. And then we are hoping for the next year mentorship program to be much more fruitful and learning for everyone.
Yeah, that's amazing. Akshat, thanks for the quick shout out, which was interesting. So Akshat completed this project. Amazing folks, interesting project. He's also now a maintainer, so he also like part of the TSA members, which is really fun. And so talking about the mentorship program, so we are also like in the process of organizing the next mentorship program, which is in 2023. It's a KPI mentorship program. So I'm going to share a link about the pull request I opened related to the program. Give me a few seconds. So I'm going to start a discussion also. I'll tag all TSA members. If you're also interested, you can join the discussion about because the previous mentorship program, the 2022, which is our first mentorship program initially. So we didn't have any rules set. We don't have anything cast in stones. We just wanted to like do it and see if we can do it, right? And we've seen we can do it, which means we can even do a lot more. So this year we are going to have a couple of rules. So we stole a couple of ideas from how Google Season of Code, Summer of Code does a thing. So we tweaked it and also like pitching our own thing just to make the next mentorship program much more easier and flexible. So here's a link to a pull request I opened concerning so I'm gonna share it in the charts and also in YouTube. Can I do that? Okay. I shared it on YouTube also. So this pull request is actually me trying to like organize have a directory called mentorship under the community repository, right? So we have it related to the mentorship program, the previous ones, the running ones, and the upcoming ones, right? So you can go to the ASIC API for WUDA under the mentorship pull request, then check out the 23. Say I have some rules, so you can go there, view it, and also share your opinion to say, oh, we have someone joining. Okay, so you can also share your opinion on what you think we can do or not do. And I think Jonas, you should have some mentorship project ideas for this year. You know, you didn't mentor anybody last year, right? You snaky boy.
I didn't get selected, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, you did. Oh, cool. Are you definitely gonna get selected this time around? So we have a couple of mentors guidelines also. So if you want to be a mentor, you should also like go check it out to see if there are some things you feel needs to be changed also. So I'm gonna also start a discussion and tag you all to also like check it out. So that's for later this call. So the mentorship program is coming. The next 2023 mentorship program is coming. So I'm actually super hyped, looking forward to it. And I also think folks like Akshat, which were the previous mentees, also get to become mentors in this coming program. And also talking about mentorship programs, we also like in the process of participating in the Winter of Code. If you attended the previous community meeting, I already said some things about that. So we have a lot of folks like, coming in from Winter of Code saying they want to participate, and yeah, they're going to participate. So we're just waiting for the program to start. There've been some update stuff, like they've updated so many things about the deadline dates and stuff, which I know I don't know why, but I think it's for the good of the community. So once we get green light from them, so we're gonna kick off the. Hey, Hannah, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Ah, cool. Your first community meeting?
Can you come again?
Your first community meeting?
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Pranav Madhu. I'm from India, Kerala. And like I'm a participant of Intro of Code, and I have submitted a proposal regarding the issue that was mentioned in GitHub. Yeah, and rest is cool.
Ah, cool. You can say talking about Winter of Code. Nice. Looking forward to seeing your contributions, and I hope you get selected for this program. And if you don't get selected, don't worry, man. We have a lot of issues you can you can work on, so you don't need to get selected to become a contributor at Async API, right? So that's it about Winter of Code. Winter of Code is starting pretty soon, and I'm also super hyped. We're gonna be participating in a lot of open source program this year as much as we can, just like encourage new contributors and also help shape the future of Async API. So that's everything about mentorship, right? So before I go on and take the whole time, I would love for Jonas to come in. Hey, Jonas.
Mhm.
So you have a couple of discussions.
Yes. Let me find it.
The stage is yours.
Thank you. All right. Let me share my screen with, or not. Can you give me access to the share screen?
Whoa, I thought you're one of the organizers.
Yeah.
Making you co-hosts.
Thank you. Okay, it's gonna be a rather technical question, but I kind of want to see if any of you have an idea of how to do this. So for whenever you use Async API and you want to generate data models, for example, something that represents your payloads, we built a tool called Modelina for it. Now, Modelina integrates with the CLI at the moment, but it's rather hard to provide the full features that the tool enables, because a lot of it are basically callbacks that enables you to customize the output in a very detailed manner. So the idea is to have something of a configuration file, a JavaScript file or TypeScript file, that where you're able to use all of the features within Modelina, while still provide this easy interface through the CLI, for example. So, for example, this could be if you wanted to generate TypeScript models, but you also want to use unions instead of regular enums. It could be you want the models to have a specific indentation for whatever reason, or even change some of the type mappings. Let's say that instead of an any type, that's the normal one, then maybe you wanted a number or something completely different. So all of these things could be done through this configuration file here. However, each of these specific configurations are just for one generator. So for example, this configuration file in this scenario would only be for TypeScript, for example. So if you wanted to generate models for, say, Sharp instead, you would have to have a separate files, or we could kind of wrap everything into one specific file. For example, here, where you specify something for TypeScript, something for C#, etc. So my question, I guess, is, do you have any, or have you seen other tools that does this differently when it comes to configuration files, or have any ideas that might be better than what I can come up with? Any feedback is appreciated. Let me link you some links as well. So there's this one in Modelina itself, and then we have a pull request, which is like kind of a draft early access kind of stuff, to see what fits and what doesn't. But yeah, happy to take questions or no. Okay. Yeah, but that's kind of my question, but or what I wanted to discuss or bring up, but it might be a bit too technical for just this meeting, maybe.
Hey, so no questions or suggestions? Yeah, so talking about Modelina, I think Modelina also the project also needs contributors, right? So if you're interested in contributing to this project, feel free to check it out and go through a list of issues. And Jonas is always helpful. Like, he would eventually help you out if you need any help concerning the projects, because he's always helping me. So
For sure.
cool.
Yeah.
So if there's no question about Modelina or this discussion, just we have to go to the next thing. So the next thing is I don't have any next thing. Like, there's nothing more on my agenda except for the new the new release, right? So I'm currently volunteering for the next Async API spec 2.6 release. Yeah, so it's currently a work in progress. And I think it's January, right? We have to it has to be done, completed this month, right? What will happen? I have a question, which is obvious, right? So I started asking this call. What will happen if the release get past January? Jonas? You should know.
Sorry, come again.
I was just asking, right? So we have these months of release, right? So I think January, I think September. So I'm just asking what if we don't get to make this release in that particular month? What happens? Maybe something happens that we couldn't make the release.
Nothing. It's just a skip release. So it kind of depends. There's no forcing it, because we have the next release as well, which is in April, I think, end of April, if I recall correctly. So you can move your 2.6. You can easily move the release schedule for that and just include more stuff. It's not going to be any issues with it. So yeah, a skip release, it's no worries. If there's no need to change stuff, just to change stuff, right? So
we're talking about just minor release, right? So what if it's a major release, maybe 3.0?
So 3.0 is gonna happen. We have a bit of a different release schedule for that, because we want all of the tools to be adapted to the new version as well. So you can switch over to version 3 of Async API and use all of the official tools anyway. So you shouldn't miss anything, and you shouldn't be restricted by it. And for that reason, we have somewhat of a freeze period. So from the end of February next month, there are no new changes to the spec. So all of the changes should already have happened by that point, or at least be right almost merged by that time. So that means that from February up until the release in June, the only thing that's going to change are minor patches to the already existing features or changes to the tools themselves. And we, of course, also are trying to work out how to help migrating tools. Let's say that you're the code owner of a specific tool and you want help in terms of what changed and etc. We're trying to provide somewhat of a meeting for it as well, something like an office hour, but it's not quite clear what it is yet. But I think that answers your question, right? I hope so.
Yeah, of course, of course. So I was thinking, I was like, wait, what if we just made a release, like, period? Are we all going to jail?
Nope.
Just kidding.
Open
Cool,
source
cool.
deal,
Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, nice. So anyone has anything you want to discuss? Because I don't really have so much thing on my agenda. Pedro, looks like you have something in your mind. Let it out. Let it out. This is the safe space.
So I actually have one more thing if
Jonathan?
no one else has.
Oh, cool.
But otherwise, jump
Yeah.
in because this
Jonathan,
is.
you have anything?
I'm happy to share something too. Yeah, sure. If you're interested.
Oh, Jonas.
Yes, please.
So I work at a company called Triggermesh. I'm a product manager, and Triggermesh is like an event broker which captures events from lots of different sources, standardizes them, transforms them, and then lets you filter and route them, deliver them to external targets. So it's kind of like event-driven integration. And I've worked on like a Swagger a lot in the past in other companies, and I've always been a bit sad that at Triggermesh we're not working more closely with the async API stuff. So I'm trying to work on like a little demo at the moment. Maybe I can just show it's really work in progress. Actually, I can't share my screen. I don't know if that's something I can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Just-
make you co-host.
Okay. Just to show you
Oh.
my idea, and maybe you can tell me if this makes sense technically or from a community point of view, but so where can I start here? Okay, so I'll just share this desktop. Okay, so can you see this diagram?
Yeah.
So this is an example of the kind of thing you can build with Triggermesh. Ignore the async API piece here, but I've got a bunch of like order management systems, but there's lots of different ones, and they communicate through different protocols and systems. So like some send orders in a REST API, some send them on an SQS queue, some send them on a Kafka topic, some need to be polled by HTTP. And the idea is that with Triggermesh, you can easily ingest all these events, transform them, standardize them, and then you can route them to other places like Kafka topics or whatever. And so what I'm trying to do is essentially a lot of the sources that we can ingest events from, you can describe in an async API file. And so I think it'd be really cool to write like a parser which takes an async API spec and generates Triggermesh components that can just automatically start ingesting those events and putting them into this broker, and then you can do stuff with them. And I think because the async API, if the definition is well defined enough, then there's no reason why I couldn't do that, right? And Triggermesh is a fully open source product, so this is not generating to some black box commercial thing. It's a tool where all these components, the broker, the sources, the targets, they run as components, as containers, and you can configure them how you want. You can run them on Docker, you can run them on Kubernetes. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. So what I'm trying to do is I'm taking an async API spec like this one. So I'm not a developer, so I'm doing this whole parsing thing is kind of tricky for me, but I've defined a Kafka server, and I've got a channel, which is orders, and I'm saying you can consume, you can subscribe, you can consume orders from this channel, right? So if I go back to my diagram, that's this topic here where I can read orders from it. Later on, it'd be cool to add other types of sources as well. And so in the parser, the idea is, you know, your eyes are gonna bleed if you look at this code, but it's the first time I even try to do anything in Node. But if I essentially run this parser, it produces this file which has some tmctl. So this is our command line interface, has some instructions. And so if I take this now to the terminal and I do tm control create broker, so it'll create a broker, which is like an event bus that you can send events into. And then I can copy the command for creating the Kafka source. So you can see it's extracted all the data from the async API spec. Okay, so it's creating that source. And so now if I do tmctl describe, I have a broker and the source is getting events from Kafka and putting them into that broker. I can do tmctl watch in a different terminal to watch the events coming in. And then I can go to my Kafka broker here, which has a topic called order. So this is the broker that's actually being exposed by the async API spec. And I can go and like paste, let me take an example event, like this, for example. I can publish this into the broker. And then if I come back to trigger mesh, I see that I got the event, right? So the idea is that in a few steps, you can ingest events from these sources defined in an async API spec, and then they come in as a cloud event. So cloud event is a standard which has this like standard metadata about the event. So now I can, if I want to, I can start doing like creating a trigger. So I can do create a trigger for an event type, and I can like copy this type here, which is the Kafka event. And then I can send it to a target, like I can send it to another Kafka topic. I can send it to SQS. I can send it to an HTTP service, whatever I want. So yeah, I'm just experimenting with this to see if it makes sense. I think technically it's doable, and like I could generate interesting stuff from lots of different things defined in the async API spec. And then my bigger question is like, is this something that could be interesting for users of async API? I'm not sure. That's the biggest open question for me, and that's what's interesting to me, is to see if our product can be useful for people who are doing async API. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any reaction to that. And by the way, I'm using the parser right now. I tried to use the generator, and I guess I just hit some configuration errors, so I couldn't get it to run with my own templates. But that's a detail.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect fit for sure. It would be really awesome to see how. Can you bring up your presentation again? I think or Excel draw.
Drawing?
Yeah. So for the event consumers, and even for the producers for that matter, if all of them has, so for example, for the app and the analytics apps, if all of them has specific async API files that defines their behavior, it's rather easy to generate the code that makes it much more easy to consume those events. So for example, let's say that I am building the analytics application.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do in order to consume from orders EU fashion is call as one function from the generated code, and that's it. And then I get the message payload in a structured way. I get if there's any parameters in the topic or headers, etc. Like just for a one-liner implementation kinda, and then you have everything. But of course that depends on how well described it is with async API, of course.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the challenges I'm having with async API, is like who is the person we're addressing with the description, right? Because I'm trying, so my instinct, which may be wrong, is to describe these event sources and think about the like DevOps person who may need to like ingest this data and then do something with it, like push it to these topics. But you're thinking more from like the application developers side and how we can help them go faster, right?
Yeah, and there's also different perspective or personas, so to say, because there can be different levels of who wants which kind of information that is described within Async API. So there's of course the consumers of the events, but there's also those that configure everything within Trigger Mesh, I could imagine, where it's like you still, and you might not even want to specifically use Async API for that, but you can have different personas within a company or within a team that sets up different kind of things within the Async API file. So someone describes the topics or the channels, and someone describes the message payload. Like, it's not an exact science yet because it's not something that we have discussed or have been discussed much yet. But it's going to be an interesting discussion to have.
Yep, that makes sense.
And I would advise you, Jonathan, to also like start a discussion around these on the Async API discussion tab.
Yeah, because
okay, I'm gonna share you a link so you can start the discussion on GitHub.
On GitHub, okay.
Yeah, I think those kind of discussions are really important to have, because regardless of whether it's for Trigger Mesh or in any other company, those definitions of, if you have multiple personas, what are those personas that are, for example, if it's a product manager, what do a product manager want to change in an Async API file? And it can even be, of course, an abstracted perspective from Async API for that matter. So yeah, those are some interesting.
And is there right now like a, I guess this is tricky to answer, but, and I can probably do more research, but in terms of who are the people using Async API today, and what do they use it for? Is it I mean, because I come from the world of Swagger and OAS, right? I did a lot of work on that. And so that was like, you're defining a REST API so that consumers can consume it more easily. Like, it's much more simple. Whereas here, like you said, there's different actors in the system, so it can solve a number of different problems. But is there one perspective which seems to make more sense in the world of Async API than others?
I don't think we have mapped it well enough at the moment. Because like generally the Async API file is used for one application. So you have app, you have analytics, you have order management system, you have those multiple order management system that each of them define a specific behavior, or at least that's in version 3, that's going to be it, where they define what they, for example, send or receives. Yeah. So yeah, another good discussion to have.
Cool. Thanks a lot for the feedback. I'll keep playing around with it, see where it goes.
It looks like a very, very interesting project. Yeah, I shared you the link on Zoom, so just in case you want to start a discussion.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
So Pedro, you have something to say before you ask?
Sorry, Ace, what did you say?
Yeah, you have any discussion? Anything?
No, not so far. Anything new to add from my side.
Cool. So Jonas.
So this is really pre before anyone should even see it, but I still want to show it, and maybe you have some comment for it. So, and especially since you're here, Akshat. So I've been having some trouble trying to map out where Async API is missing tools, or where we are missing features for that matter within tools. And we have this new tool dashboard, which is super awesome because it kind of grabs all of the tools that we have and externally as well, and kind of have this programmable interface that it describes exactly like something that I can grab and experiment with. So it's kind of just like a JSON file, right? That describes different things. But I'm thinking about how we can elevate the roadmap in order to display which kind of features we are missing. Or I guess there's different kind of perspectives for this. So I want to be able to describe which tools exist that can help me build my application. It's kind of the end user. It's those that build applications, analytic platform, whatever it kind of is. And we have all of these different tools for them that solves different kind of problems. But all of them kind of elevate towards a grouping of or within a specific stage in development. So for example, you have design where you have to create your async API file. Then you have develop where you develop the platform or the application itself, and etc., etc., etc. And I'm not set on any of these groupings. It's just what I came up with at the moment. So the idea is that we kind of distinguish between if you want to build an application or whether you want to build tools to work with async API files. So this is kind of the integration part where it's like, I want to build, it could be Trigger Mesh, for example, that want to integrate with async API and support async API as a format. Then we have tools that you can integrate with, that you can integrate into your platform to make XYZ easier to solve. So the ideas was that each of these tools then has different kinds of, so this is kind of like, if I double click on this design grouping, it gets into a much more specialized view where all of the tools are. So this could be, if you want to visualize whatever is defined within the async API file, then which kind of tools can you use? And also which kind of standards, because, well, we have async API, of course, but we also have how you define the schema or the message payloads that can have different kind of formats as well. But then the idea is that if we can create kind of like an interactive tool that can show where connections are and where they are missing, in order to say, we are not that well supported for Angular, for example, here. Let's say that none of these tools integrated with Angular. It's rather easy from our perspective to see, okay, well, maybe there's not enough traction, like users that want it. That's one thing, of course, but it also gives us the possibility to see, well, we're kind of missing that arrow in a sense. It's not there because none of the tools that we have can be used within that specific technology stack. And it's the same with, for example, develop. Then you have more boxes where it's like, okay, I'm using, I want to generate code for TypeScript. Which tools support generating TypeScript code? Then you can rather easily focus on TypeScript and see which tools support that. But also see, okay, but I have TypeScript and I want to support Nets. That's my technology stack. Or it can be Kafka for that matter. Then you can also see, or you can add those two as a requirement. And you would have an easier time figuring out which tools you can use or integrate with that supports your unique use case. And it, of course, also shows, let's say that we have a protocol that's not supported, new protocol. Then we might need to put some effort into enabling that integration or that missing connection in specific tools. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show because I don't have anything else. And it's still a work in progress. I don't think it will, the plan is not that it will replace this. The plan is for the moment that it's gonna live next to the roadmap and vision in some sense, maybe another tab, something. But yeah, happy to hear your thoughts if you have any about them.
Yeah, I do have, like, to be honest, this was a brilliant idea to me. It's like having a certain roadmap where a certain user can have or can get the knowledge on how, what are the tools that he can use to either build their application or how they can integrate with it. Because many a times, like in the even if we see in the tools dashboard, we are not clarifying the things very much. We are too getting into the details, like it goes with languages, technologies, but yeah, there are certain view that we are missing, previewing those categories, like either they are building the tools or they are helping integrate with that. I think yes, we can do this while on the roadmap side, uh, with an animation. Yeah, quite a difficult, means like quite not difficult task, but it will be a quite creative, will take some time. Or even if we make this particular task or issue for any particular program or any particular build task, like inside mentorship program, if I remember, like we do have a drag and drop, something type of that interactive issue for the Async API mentorship program, right? Yes.
Yeah, I think you are referring to
Yeah,
the
of course we
studio having
yeah.
that
Studio, yeah.
drag and drop,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, means like these type of interactive types we could make it. And yeah, there's the type of idea you presented it is quite good to me. Like we can have, but yeah, the person who is making it should also have a good knowledge of the tools that are currently being there used in the Sync API. That too.
Yeah,
And I think you're, yeah.
I think the mapping between tools and this overview is one thing, because that can happen in not parallel, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same person that does it.
Yeah.
Because many of these clarification things, for example, which protocols are supported or which serialization libraries or whatever other parameters there is, we kind of need to map them out in some sense. But yeah,
So
good point.
do you want to make something like of
So this is nice. So what?
Go Access.
Yeah, means like I want to know that, do you want this interactive session to be something automated, like just like it is for the tools one?
Yes, that's the idea. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that it should
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm thinking is, right, so firstly, like technically, I feel we should find a way, because right here we're talking about tools, right? So why shouldn't it reside in a domain that is related to tools, right? So I come into the Async API website, I need to check how the tools work or something. Where my mind first goes is not the roadmap, right? It basically goes to tools, right? So, and when I click on tools, all I see is the tools dashboard, right? And this is a dashboard, right? So dashboard can be extended. So we can find a way to eventually extend, this current tooling dashboard to find a way to do this, maybe a visual representation of how all these things are connected, right? Which is nice. What do you think? Do you feel it should be in the roadmap? Because it doesn't look like a roadmap to me, actually.
The idea is not to decide on where it should reside now. It's just a matter of showing it off as soon as possible. So for all I care, it can be a hidden site where you can say, or even a link to the roadmap, but something like that. it doesn't really matter where, because we can always clarify on where to integrate it, because as soon as we start developing the components that can do these things in React, it's all a matter of integrating those components into other sections of the website if that's needed, right? So whether it lives in the tool side in somewhere doesn't really matter, I think. But for sure, it might not make sense to live in the roadmap alone, long term.
So also talking about visually representing like this idea, right? So I was thinking, right, what if it is something like visually represented in a tree-like format? Like, you know, when you click on
So
maybe
top-down
design.
kind.
Yeah, okay, let me show you. Let me share my screen. Can I share?
Mhm.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So cool. I'm currently working on like an async API map, right? So what this project eventually does is it's like visually, you know, explain how everything about async API spec, right? From API dog, the version, and you just click and it just keeps like showing you the properties and childs and stuff. So I was thinking, right, what if it is something similar to this view, right? Where maybe you say tools and you click on design and it shows you next children of things related to design, and you just keep having these nice interactive views, right? I was thinking, what if the design you're talking about could be something similar to this, which can be easily integrated anywhere in the website or even someone else's project by doing maybe npm install or something.
Yep, that could definitely be an option for sure. I mean, it kind of is like a tree in the
design, like
in the proof of
project
concept, right? But it's
Yeah, it means like what Jonas right now showed us is more visualized like a graph than a tree. Like there are multiple connections
Yeah,
going on
so
like
this
that.
could be like depending on how you want to implement it.
Yeah,
exactly. So it could be something that's links to each other. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a tree. It could be represented as a graph.
yeah. So
I think the most
Like-
important aspect is actually the experience, right? So whatever way we're gonna implement it, we have like implement it in a way where it doesn't get confusing, right?
Yeah.
So now you visualizing it and you get lost. Like, where am I coming from? What's wrong? Where am I? So exactly. So I think it's a very, very, very nice idea. Yeah, we have a lot of good people in the community, because why I find this interesting is, right, so one of my goals is to like create real life project examples, like workshop, and I was trying, like, I'm currently working on an example of a web commerce, right, and I'm trying to like use and the goal is to touch as many tools as possible in the async API project, right. And what I find really interesting about this project is also it could be a way of me, you know, explaining these tools, right? Maybe I'm currently doing a live stream, I'm reading these particular tools, and it could be like easily for me to also like understand the tools and how they are related and which parent tools I'm using, and also explain to people that would eventually be watching the recordings on the workshops also. And I think this is really interesting. I would love to like, you know, help you out in that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of interesting folks. This could even be part of the mentorship program. Just thinking.
definitely,
yeah, and one
You
more
should
thing I want to
submit.
ask. Yeah, so continue with this. Yeah, go on.
No, continue.
Yeah, I was just asking that I have a doubt that we're gonna, like, as per the Jonas plan, looks like we are gonna integrate with that .async API tool file with the fields that you specified right now.
I think my initial idea was to use
Wanna share?
what we already have. No, I have nothing to share, but it's just ideas for now. But I think it would be possible to use the already existing tools file and then modify whatever is needed. So, for example, you can manually map a specific tool with extra information where needed, and then manually adding those things for now, at least until as long as we're playing around with it. Because one of the major issues I have is that these groupings, I have no idea whether they make sense. But I kind of just need those kind of groupings in the first place in order to generate some kind of discussion around it. And my idea was to just take whatever the life cycle of an API is, because it's somewhat similar, but it's still a bit icky in some way.
Yeah, I
So-
completely understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am gonna create an issue for it, specifically this that outlines the idea behind it, also to generate the discussion around it. So for now, it's just about the idea and whether those kind of visuals give any benefit to the end user, whoever those end users are, right? Because it's us, but it's also other people that either want to build a product with Async API or want to build a platform that does something with Async API or want to integrate with it, right? So I think it's a long way ahead before we actually have anything or even a proof of concept, but yeah. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, cool.
The idea-
It seems really interesting. Any other question?
Any news regarding that winter of code? Regarding is like I saw some of the folks writing in the issues that they have submitted the proposals right now.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do concerning the winter of code, right? Actually, since you're also a mentor, is so according we had a conversation with Łukasz, and so without no insults, so I think the winter of code folks are less not organized, and I think they have issues with like making decisions and stuff. But what we agreed on with Hai and Łukasz is to try to like, despite so I don't even know what the selection process is like in winter of code. We don't know if we get the proposals or they get to review the proposals. I wrote them a couple of emails, I got no response, and they're reaching out to me on Twitter, and I'm less active on Twitter. And I was like, okay, what do I have to do? So we decided that no matter what the decision is at winter of code, right, we should try to like have these contributors contribute to Async API, right? They're interested in the project, they came to the project, yeah, so we should help them, contribute. Like I think we have one of the guy I assigned to you in the navigation issue, remember? Yeah, cool. So so it's the issue is already been picked out, like already worked on, just need some enhancements, but that can be the it was to assign to him during this phase, right?
Sorry,
So,
can you please repeat?
whoever
Is you
participated during the winter of code.
break down in between?
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Like,
Yeah, yes and no.
yes.
I was looking for action to say yes. Okay, cool. So what we are gonna do is, despite the fact that we don't understand what is going on with winter of code, what the decisions are, right? We are trying to, help these folks contribute to Async API, right? At the end goal of the program is to give them swags, right? We've already decided. So whoever comes to the program to participate for winter of code are gonna participate regardless, right? So one of your mentee is the issue that was assigned to you was is already been worked on. So which means you would have to like assign another issue to him for him to work on, right? So which is what I'm also doing, right? So whoever I get to like mentor during this winter of code, I have to like assign, because those issues are pretty like easy and they don't take time. A couple of weeks or a week or two, they're done. But the program is like 2 months or something. So which means we have to like assign them more issues to work on. Do you understand?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, I'm also gonna host a call, which it would be it won't be recorded. So where I'm gonna invite all the folks in the community that came for Winter of Code next week.
Okay, fine then.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to like finalize everything with them and ask them what they think is best. This might also be the last time we participate in Winter of Code. Those guys are giving us a headache.
Okay. Let's have a chat meeting with them next week then.
Yeah, so we're gonna also meeting. So Pranav, stay active. We're gonna host a meeting for Winter. Actually, I'm doing a meeting. Okay, it was you, Pranav. Okay, so we're gonna host a meeting concerning Winter of Code next week. Looking forward to seeing you all there, and so we can like talk about how we plan to like do this program for you all. So it's just we're not stealing the program for Winter of Code. No, we're just trying to help you guys do your thing. So, any other question? No. So if there's no question, I guess this is the end of today's call. So thanks for doing this call. This call was amazing. Like, I want to say something, Akshat?
Yeah, nothing right now.
Okay, cool. So this call was actually amazing. A lot of interesting ideas, which is really, really amazing. So I also saw Pedro. I think this is my first time in a call with Pedro, community call. No?
No,
You
I
didn't
don't
say
think so.
anything. Well,
I don't think so.
yeah. So thanks for doing this call. Akshat, nice seeing you. Jonas, looking fresh as always. And Pranav, thanks for doing this call. Okay. See you guys next time, which is next month. So the next community call will be in the morning, HTC. Looking forward to seeing you guys then. Bye guys. Have fun. Good night.
See ya.
I don't know if it's good morning for Jonas or night.
That's night.
Night, okay.
And a suggestion for you is I hope you don't see today's recording in the YouTube.
Why? All right, bye. Bye guys.
See ya, Aaron.
Bye. See you guys.